FIFA declared the match between South Korea and Czechia at Estadio Akron in Guadalajara 98% full. The official attendance figure reads 44,985 out of a total stadium capacity of 45,664. That number was published, distributed, and reported across global sports media within hours of kickoff. But there was a problem. The cameras broadcasting that match to hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide showed something the official figure did not: visible, sustained empty sections spread across the stadium, concentrated in premium areas and the upper-tier sideline. So the question this video is built around is simple. Who do you trust, the official number or your own eyes? This video is not about cost overruns. It is not about broken infrastructure promises, VAR controversies, or the political decisions that shape the host selection. It is specifically about one thing: the gap between FIFA's official attendance figures and what the cameras showed across the first 4 matches of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And that gap is not a glitch, not a one-match anomaly, and not a technical error. It is a structural feature of how FIFA counts crowds, and at this tournament it has become impossible to ignore. To understand why the numbers and the images keep telling different stories, you need to understand exactly how FIFA defines attendance. FIFA does not count bodies in seats. FIFA counts allocated tickets. An allocated ticket is a ticket that has been assigned to a buyer, sold to an individual, distributed to a corporate sponsor, transferred through a hospitality package, or handed to a government delegation. Once that ticket is allocated, it is counted in the official attendance figure, regardless of whether the person holding it ever entered the stadium, ever sat in their seat, or ever traveled to the host city. This methodology is not new. It is not hidden. It is FIFA's established, published counting system, and understanding it is the only way to read any attendance number FIFA releases with any accuracy. If this is the kind of breakdown you come here for, the numbers behind the numbers, the methodology behind the headline, make sure you're subscribed to Hoop Action TV, because this is what we do for every major story in the game. The Guadalajara discrepancy did not emerge from nowhere. It follows a well-documented pattern that has repeated itself across at least 3 previous FIFA tournaments. At the 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa, visible empty sections at multiple group stage matches triggered a formal FIFA investigation. The conclusion was straightforward: corporate ticket holders, government allocations, and overseas fans simply did not show up. The allocated count was accurate. The actual number of people in the stadium was lower. 8 years later, at the 2018 World Cup in Russia, the match between Egypt and Uruguay at Yekaterinburg Arena posted an official attendance of 27,015 against a stadium capacity of 33,061. FIFA confirmed the gap directly to The Guardian and cited the same explanation: allocated versus actual. At the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, despite FIFA reporting every match is sold out, The Athletic documented visibly empty seats throughout the entire competition, including at the Argentina vs. France final, the most watched match of that tournament. The pattern is consistent across 3 continents in 12 years. The cameras and the official numbers have always been measuring different things. The 2026 World Cup did not invent this problem, it inherited it. But here is where 2026 is structurally different from everything that came before it. At previous tournaments, the gap between allocated tickets and actual bodies in seats was explained by logistics and circumstance. Fans who had tickets and genuinely wanted to attend could not get there: travel disruptions, visa complications, last-minute cancellations. The underlying demand existed. The execution failed. At the 2026 World Cup, the question being asked is fundamentally different. Were these tickets ever allocated to people who were actually going to come? The evidence chain on this is specific and documented. Between October 2025 and April 2026, FIFA raised prices on more than 90 of its 104 matches by an average of 34%. Then, weeks before the tournament opened, FIFA quietly reversed course, slashing those same prices and returning 70% of block-booked hotel rooms across host cities back to the open market. On the day before the opening ceremony, 25,000 tickets were still available for purchase directly on FIFA's own platform. For certain matches, available inventory remained in the thousands right up to kickoff. Apply that context specifically to Guadalajara. Lower bowl seats for South Korea versus Czechia were listed at $500. Upper-tier sideline seats were priced at $400. This is a match between 2 nations with modest traveling supporter cultures in North America, held in a city that requires significant domestic travel effort from within Mexico and substantial international travel from anywhere else. The no-show rate was structurally inevitable. The empty seats that appeared on camera were not in the general sections. They were concentrated in premium sections, VIP areas, and corporate hospitality zones, seats allocated to FIFA partners and sponsors who treated a group stage fixture between South Korea and Czechia as an optional social event rather than a commitment. The first 4 matches of this tournament produced a direct, side-by-side comparison that makes the pattern impossible to dismiss. Match 1, Mexico vs. South Africa at Estadio Azteca, Mexico City. Official attendance, 80,824. Stadium capacity, 83,025. Fill rate, approximately 97%. The cameras confirmed every digit of that number. The Azteca was full of the noise, the atmosphere, the historic significance of the stadium hosting its third World Cup in its history. This was the 2026 World Cup as advertised. Match 2, South Korea vs Czechia at Estadio Akron, Guadalajara. Official attendance 44,985. Capacity 45,664. FIFA's stated fill rate 98%. The cameras showed sustained empty sections through the match, concentrated specifically in premium areas in the upper-tier sideline. The Mirror published its report within hours of the final whistle. The headline used the word humiliation. This is the match that made the gap between official figures and broadcast reality undeniable. Match 3, Canada vs Bosnia and Herzegovina at BMO Field, Toronto. This was Canada's first ever World Cup match on home soil, the first men's World Cup fixture ever played on Canadian ground. Stadium capacity, 45,500. Multiple reporters covering the match described the atmosphere as unlike anything previously witnessed at a Canadian sporting event. The contrast with Guadalajara was direct and immediate. The cameras showed exactly what the numbers said, because the people inside that stadium had been waiting for this moment for the entirety of Canadian football history. Match 4, United States vs Paraguay at SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles. Official attendance, 68,576 against a capacity of 69,000, the U.S. opener, the match that American football fans had circled years in advance. One significant caveat attached to this fixture: Unite Here Local 11, the union representing approximately 2,000 workers at SoFi Stadium, voted to authorize a strike in the days immediately before the match. No strike was ultimately called. However, workers at the venue still do not have a finalized contract, and FIFA has not issued any public comment on the labor situation. The pattern produced by those 4 matches is clear. When the host nations, Mexico, Canada, the United States, are on the field, the stadiums are full, the atmosphere is genuine, and the cameras and the official numbers align. When 2 nations without significant North American fan bases play in mid-sized venues requiring expensive travel, the gap between allocated tickets and actual attendance becomes visible on global broadcast. This is not a scandal distributed evenly across the entire tournament. It is concentrated precisely where the barriers to attendance were always highest. Nations whose supporters face visa and travel restrictions, smaller markets, venues that require costly transport to reach, and matches priced at the level of premium entertainment in the world's most expensive sports market. FIFA's response to all of this is predictable and, in aggregate terms, technically defensible. The total attendance figures across 104 matches will absorb the Guadalajara empty sections within a much larger number that reflects genuine packed crowds at host nation fixtures. Gianni Infantino will point to those totals and present them as proof that the tournament succeeded. FIFA spent months ahead of this tournament publicly claiming that demand was 10 times greater than any previous edition. But the cameras have already told a different story, match by match, section by section, and those images are globally distributed and permanently archived. The evidence of a pricing model that priced out and locked out the fans who would have filled those seats is not going away. FIFA says South Korea vs Czechia was 98% full. The cameras said something else. Those 2 facts cannot both be true in the way most people understand the word full. The question going forward is whether the empty sections in Guadalajara represent the exception in this tournament, an isolated product of one difficult matchup in one expensive market, or the early warning of what the group stage will keep delivering as more non-host nation fixtures play out across 16 cities and 3 countries. Which group stage match do you think produces the most striking atmosphere as this tournament progresses? A host nation game, or is there a non-North American fixture that surprises everyone? Drop your answer in the comments below. We read every one. And if you haven't subscribed to Hoop Action TV yet, now's the time. This is the kind of coverage we bring to every story that matters in world football.